Welcome. Thank you for joining me. Great Board Gamer here with another series of playthrough videos, this time featuring Warhammer Quest, the adventure card game by Fantasy Flight Games. Let's crack this box open and get it set up. For this playthrough, I'll be playing the first quest in the campaign that comes with the game, A Foul Stench, an Uneasy Alliance, quest number 1. And setup for this is on the back side of the card. Right here in this top section of the card, it details the setup, and I'll go through that and explain the cards and components as I go. But first, let's go ahead and see what the narrative is for the beginning of this campaign. The city of Champ had never seen anything like it. The youngest fell to sickness a moon ago, and their elders soon followed them into the grave. At first, it was believed to be a plague brought on by the debauchery of a traveling carnival, but the execution and burning of the entire troop did nothing to quell the problem. A perplexed and dying city was on the verge of collapse until the unsuspecting rat-catcher named Jod began spreading tales of a peculiar odor, more peculiar than usual, emanating from the sewers. Jod informs you that he has stumbled across a secret entrance dug into the tunnels of the outskirts of town. Something has recently been accessing the city's water supply, no doubt for devious purposes. You must investigate. Before I walk through this setup, I'm going to select the 2 characters that I'm going to use for this playthrough, and I'm going to do so randomly. Now I'm going to play this as a solo playthrough, and when you do that, you play it the same as you do a 2-player game. What I'm going to do is I'm going to roll the die 1, 2, 3, 4. If it's a 5 or a 6, I'll just re-roll it again, because I like the idea of just getting random characters 2. So we'll be taking the dwarf and the ranger. Random selection has given me the dwarf, or the iron breaker, and what I called the ranger, which is the way watcher. And they each have their 4 actions that they can do, that they start with, and you can determine which ones they start with, because at the bottom of the 4 cards that they start with, they all say basic. And instead of going over each of these cards in detail right now, the first time they come up during gameplay, I'll focus on them, explain what they do, and therefore we'll get through each of the cards throughout the game instead of spending a lot of time doing that all up front. Now I have my characters set up down here. Next I want to do the setup on the card, and the first thing I do is I'm going to create the enemies deck, and I'll do so by following the directions on the card. And it is to shuffle giant bats, gigantic spiders, goblin warriors, orc boys, then 4 open standard enemies and 4 open elite enemies together. And then Odious Grump, the nemesis for this scenario, will be in the nemesis lair, and he'll spawn throughout the game. And what they mean by open is, as you can see on this card here, we have the number 1 symbol. When they're talking about open, on the creatures, they're going to have 1, 2, or 3 on their card in the upper left corner. First I'll pull out the ones that they mentioned in the card, and then open would be everything else left behind, whether it's just a regular or the elite are the ones that you'll see with the red background, and they also say elite right there on the card. Our creature deck is shuffled, and we'll set it off to the side, ready for our draw pile. Next, we will get our location deck. As these cards here, and all the different locations, and we're going to grab all the tier 1s out separate, And then we'll also grab Grump's Sump, where the end of the scenario will take place. Now I'm going to shuffle these up, take 3 at random, put them face down on top of Grump's Sump. The location deck is set and ready to go. Next we'll take our gear and our dungeon decks both, shuffle these and draw 12 cards from each to create the gear deck and the dungeon deck for this scenario. Both the gear deck and the dungeon deck are set and ready to go. Next we'll place the Peril Token, and that goes on our card here for our quest, and it'll move during the peril phase to the right, and every time it reaches the color, whether it's the green, the blue, or the red, that will activate that area on the quest card. And we'll set our nemesis, Odious Grump, off to the side in the lair. He's considered to be in the lair at the beginning of the game. The Way Watcher will be the first person to take action in the playthrough. I've given her the first player marker. Everything's set up and ready to go. So come on over to the next video, which will be the first turn of my playthrough of Warhammer Quest, the adventure card game.